Hey traders, it's John Fortune here with this week's Weekly Forex Forecast for the 11th of June to the 15th of June 2018. As always, we're going to start with the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of currency pairs and markets, looking at the key levels of support and resistance in the process. And we're going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're going to be looking for in the coming week and also in the weeks ahead. So without further ado, let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. Starting with the US dollar index. Now, last week we were sitting right at key area of broken resistance turning support at the 93.78, and we were looking for this to provide an area for bullish formations and patterns looking up towards the target, the next key area of resistance, the upside at 95.15. And as you can see, we actually started to decline below the 93.78 and we came straight down to the next key area of support to the downside at 93.36. So overall, we are still viewing this as corrective. And as we start the week above the 93.36, this is another place to start to look once again for bullish formations and patterns, and a place which can push the US dollar index to the upside, looking first of all up towards the target and the next key area of resistance to 95.15. And if we can get a breakthrough there, up towards the next target and next key area of resistance to the upside at the 95.45. Now, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, okay, you might be able to view this support area here as a bit more of an aggressive entry. And if you want to be a little bit more conservative, or perhaps a second position, if you like to build into your positions, once we get a break back above the 93.78, okay, this will be another great place to start to either conservatively or looking to add to look for bullish formations and patterns up towards the next key area of resistance, the upside at 95.15. Although we always start the week with a bias in the markets, just remember, just as we had last week, that these levels can be used both ways. And if we did get a breakdown in this area, this would be the next key area of support we'd look towards at 92.62. Next, we have crude oil. Now, last week we started the week down in this area below broken support. You can see it has already turned resistance a couple of times here, and we've started to correct in oil. So we are looking for further declines in oil down towards the first target here at the 64.05. Preferably, if we can get another pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance, this would provide the best setup and opportunity in oil, and this would be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns, looking, as I said, first of all down to the next key area of support to the downside at 64.05. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support and target 2 at the 62.03. Next, we have euro dollar. Now, last week we were looking for a pullback and a retest of broken support, looking to turn resistance around the 1.17433 area. And you can see actually we broke straight through here. And where did we come? We came right to the next key area of resistance to the upside at the 1.18350. Now, very simply put, you can see this is setting up pretty much the inverse to the US dollar index. And that's because the euro makes up about 57% of the dollar index. So going into next week, very simply put, if we get a pullback and a retest of key resistance at the 1.18350, this will be once again a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get a break through the 1.17433, this will provide another great place either once again to look for additional positions or a conservative first position if you want to wait for this to break through first. And we're going to be seeing if we can move down towards the first target and the next key area of support to the downside at the 1.15610. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside at the 1.14460. Next, we have pound dollar. Now, last week we were sitting around about this area and we were looking for a pullback and a potential retest of broken support turning resistance to the 1.3462. And you can see we did get this move up into the key area of resistance. And this was the area that we highlighted last week as a potential place we were going to start to look for bearish formations and patterns and short positions. And you can see we did actually sell off from this key area. So going into next week, if we get a pullback and one final retest of broken support turning resistance, this is going to provide a great place once again to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to now be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 1 at the 1.3275. And ideally, we'd be looking for a breakthrough here, especially as we've already tested this once over here, down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1.3041. Next, we have US dollar Japanese yen. Now, last week we started the week in this area and we were looking for a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance at the 110.034. And you can see we did actually get this price action, this move up. And in fact, the markets last week were very corrective, weren't they? I mean, we started here and we ended the week here. So we pretty much did nothing, but we did come up and retest the previous broken support turning resistance at 110.034. And as highlighted last week, this is the area we're starting to be bearish on the US dollar Japanese yen. And this was a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. If going into this week, we get another test of this key area of resistance, this will once again be going into next week, another great place to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts, potentially down to the first target and the next key area of support to the downside at the 107.883. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next target and the next key area of support to the downside at the 107.319. Now, even though we are looking for dollar strength potentially coming into the markets next week, if we do not get that dollar strength, or if we do get the dollar strength but the Japanese yen is still stronger than the dollar, we will still see a decline in the US dollar yen. And as long as we're below the 110.034, we're looking and we're favoring shorts in the US dollar Japanese yen. Next, we have Aussie dollar. Now, last week we were looking for a potential pullback into the key area of broken support turning resistance at the 0.76458. And you can see we did actually get this. And we sold off last week from this key area of resistance. So very simply put, going into this week, we'll be looking for a pullback somewhere in this area, preferably even another retest if we can get it, of key resistance at the 0.76458. And this is going to provide, just as the same as it was last week, a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking all the way down to the first key area of support to the downside at 0.74477. And again, if we can get a breakthrough here, especially once again, as we've already retested this over here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.73333. Just bear in mind, this is quite a big move, guys. So if we are coming down to the second target, this may take a couple of weeks. Next, we have New Zealand dollar. Now, last week we started the week just below the key area of broken support turning resistance at 0.6982, and this was where we're going to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. But as you can see, pretty much on the market open, we came straight back above here, and we came straight towards the next key area of resistance to the upside in New Zealand dollar, and we held there towards the end of the week. So very simply put, going into this week, especially as we are looking for potential strength in the US dollar index, this provides another great place to start once again to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formation patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts. Again, if we can get a break through the 0.69882, this will provide a second place either for additional positions or a first primary conservative position to once again to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formation patterns in this area, we're going to once again be looking to initiate shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set from last week at the 0.68180. Next, we have US dollar franc. Now, last week we started the week below the key area of broken support turning resistance at 0.98908. And we were looking for potential shorts, and this as a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we did start to come down towards the target set from last week at 0.97555. But as you can see, at the end of the week, we shot back up. And this is just another example of how the markets were really choppy in the last week. We started the week over here and we ended the week pretty much back at the same place. So very simply put, not much has changed here in the US dollar Swiss franc. If we get a pullback, another retest of broken support turning resistance at the 0.98908, this will once again be a place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns, and evidence in this area that we're going to be looking for a decline down towards the target set from last week at the 0.97555. Next, we have the US dollar CAD. Now, last week we started the week above broken resistance turning support at the 1.29085, and we've been looking since last week for further advances to the upside. US dollar CAD last week was a really horrible type of price action. I mean, it was just so choppy here, and you can see we pretty much once again ended the week as we started the week, and another example of the corrective nature of the markets last week. However, taking the reference points here into account, we are still very simply above the 1.29085, and therefore this is still a great place to start once again to look for bullish formations and patterns, looking to initiate longs up towards the target and the key area of resistance set from last week at the 1.31119. And finally, we have gold. Now, in gold, we've been tracking gold in the forecast for a while, and once we broke below the key area of support at the 1304.25, we were looking for this pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance in this area. And then for the next 2 weeks, we have pretty much just accumulated underneath this broken support, turning resistance to the 1304.25. So we've been bearish on gold for the last couple of weeks, and nothing really has changed this week. Now, because we've been accumulating sideways pretty much for 2 weeks, there is a very good chance, although this could continue to extend this correction, there is a very good chance now next week we could decline to the downside quite strongly. So very simply put, our bias on gold hasn't changed over the last couple of weeks. As long as we remain below the 1304.25, we are looking for a decline. And if we get one final pullback and a retest, and perhaps because it's already done it twice, we may go straight from this area here, but preferably if we do get another retest, this kind of area is a great place to start once again for somebody who's not involved in gold to look for bearish formations and patterns, and looking to initiate shorts down towards the target set here in the next key area of support to the downside, first of all at the 1275.66, and of course if we can eventually break through here, we're going to be looking down towards target 2 and the next key area of support to the downside in gold at the 1260.91. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. Big thank you to all of you who do that once again on a regular basis, and a big thank you to those of you who have subscribed to the channel already. I hope you all have a nice weekend. I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I hope you all have a fantastic and profitable week next week. The only thing left to say is take care and don't forget to trade safely.